Hi, my name is Jason Yunker and I'm the director of Resilient Recovery Ministries. What I'm doing today here is a reaction video. I'm going to react to a TED Talk called 6 Life-Altering Ways to Help Addicts and Convicts. My role in this reaction video is just to share with you from my experience as someone who did drug and alcohol prevention, and someone who was a therapist, and someone who has some background doing research. And I'm a Christian, so you'll hear things from that lens as well. My goal is that you be entertained a little bit, that this is fun, but also that you would learn something about the science of addiction and recovery. So let's go ahead and get into this video and see what these guys have to say.
So I had fallen asleep standing up in the middle of a busy intersection in San Francisco during rush hour traffic. I was coming off a 1-week cocaine binge and hadn't slept the entire time. Horns were blowing and cars were swerving to try and miss me.
All right, so just right off the bat, interesting story. This guy is really well put together. Very good at holding an audience's attention, and yet he was at a pretty rough point in his life. So it'll be interesting to see his story and how he got there, and then also see what are these 6 life-altering ways to help people.
I grew up in East Oakland, California. I was the youngest of 7 children. Family members openly used drugs and alcohol. I had a brother who thought he was a pimp, a brother who was an alcoholic, and a sister who, as a teenager, gave birth to twins addicted to crack. Cousins openly sold and used drugs. I got caught in elementary school selling marijuana joints. I remember being sent home, and when I got home, I wasn't reprimanded by my parents. Nobody cared what I was doing, and there was no consequences.
All right, so when I did my work as a prevention specialist, working in schools, one of the things that guided that was this whole body of research around risk and protective factors. This guy's got some pretty big risk factors in his growing up experience. So when you've got community standards towards drug use are pretty favorable, when family standards towards drug use and alcohol use are pretty favorable, when there's a lot of chaos in the home, and so people are going to jail, other people are addicted. Those are huge risk factors that can really set someone up to later have a problem with drugs and alcohol. So this guy's, he's got definitely a few cards stacked against him. Let's check out what else is going on.
We later moved to Santa Rosa, California, and in high school, I progressed to cocaine and speed. I was playing 2 sports at the time and somehow getting away with it. In fact, we were having some success. We won a couple championships, and I got most valuable player of a couple sports teams. Played in college and was good at it until I was injured.
All right, so something's going on here. So when we talk about risk and protective factors, something is going on. This guy has the ability to stick with something that's difficult, as evidenced by being so good at sports that he does really well in high school and in college. So he's got all those internal things, right? The ability to delay gratification, the ability to stay focused, the ability to go do something that's difficult, like practice week in, week out, and get good at something. To rise to the top of any kind of an endeavor, you have to have some pretty strong internal resources that you're using for that. And I have to think that there's also some support with that. Somebody's buying his uniform, somebody's taking him to practice, somebody cares about him and shows an interest in him. For him to be able to reach that level of proficiency in a sport, it's not all bad. So something was going on in his youth that was a protective factor.
I didn't like the direction my life was going, so I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, thinking that would change me. My new job was at the Martin Luther King Center, and I loved working for Coretta Scott King. But my drugs and alcohol, it persisted. I remember sitting in my office and looking out the window, and there was Dr. King's eternal flame. And I thought to myself, dude, you got to get it together. You're in a great place, and you're part of history. That lasted for a little while, but not for long. Knowing that I would eventually get caught and fired, I quit to avoid the shame.
Okay, so again, he's using, right? So there's definitely some of those risk factors kind of came to fruition later in life, but at the same time, he got a job at a place that I'm sure a lot of people would like to work, and he did not get fired from that job, and he had the internal fortitude or resources or whatever to recognize how important and how historic that job was. Those are all strengths, that we can build upon in our recovery. So while I think he definitely had a rough upbringing, he's also just got a tremendous amount of strengths that these are going to be what we call kind of recovery capital. He's going to be able to draw on all of these strengths, his character, his values, all that kind of stuff is going to be great for him when he gets to the point where he's ready to quit.
The next 5 years, it was a free fall, downhill, drugs, alcohol, until finally, standing in the middle of the street, asleep in San Francisco, arrested again.
Now, for the really great news, there is a solution for Mo and for the tens of thousands like him. 50 years ago, a model for transformational behavioral change was built, not by doctors or correction officials, but by addicts themselves.
All right, so that's pretty cool, right? The fact that this program that they have is run by addicts themselves. I really dig that. I think that's cool. I think that's a great philosophy to have. I'm always concerned when I hear someone make a pretty broad claim like that one. There is an answer. There's never an answer. All right. If you say there's an answer, you're essentially saying we can eradicate this problem. This is going to be like polio. We've got the vaccine. We just need to get it out to people and then they will be healed. And it is not that simple. It's just not that simple. If they really had the answer, if they could, for tens of thousands of people, they could just take people at random off of the street and criminal lifestyle and turn them into productive citizens, they would last about 5 minutes before the U.S. government came in and took them to some bunker, because they have an amazing power to change people's hearts and minds, and they would take them to some country that we're having trouble with and turn them into a Western democracy in a heartbeat, because they can just change people, whether those people want to be changed or not, and they just uniformly are able to do it. That's a huge claim when you say there is an answer. Maybe an answer for some people. This worked for some people. That's a lot. That's a lot to say. I'll just say that. That's a pretty bold claim that you have an answer to it. Holy cow, there is a lot in this video. I really liked this guy. Hopefully you were able to see some of the things that are risk factors in the development of a substance abuse disorder, and some of those strengths that kind of universally help someone either prevent it in the first place or get out of it once they've gotten caught in it. There's so much in this video that I'm going to have to break it into two. So in the next video, we're going to look just really briefly a little bit more at the program, and then we're going to delve right into those 6 things that they say will really impact the lives of addicts and convicts. So let's see if they're really the panacea that they claim they are. Did they find the silver bullet? If you're interested in what my reaction is to that, go ahead and check out the next video. In the meantime, please click subscribe and click the notification button. That will allow other people to see this content, and it will allow you to get notifications as new content becomes available. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that you were entertained and learned a little something about recovery and addiction.